Oh, there we go. We're live, Poppy, apparently. Apparently we're live. Let's just move this. I hope you can hear me. I've not got my headphones on because Pop would Pop guy's here. And if I put these headphones on, then he'll jump onto my head and eat them. So if the sound's terrible, then tell me so, and I'll have to either put these on or tuck them down the front so the microphone works. But for the moment, I'm going to leave them off, but I've got them in case we need them. I do hope that you can hear me. Hello to everybody. Let me just pull that a little bit further forward. All right, Pop. Feeling very chilled today. I thought Popper Guy deserved a little chance to go on the social distance social club. If you've got any oh, you dropped it. Any advice on stripping the bark off sticks? That's the subject today, isn't it? Yes. Stripping the bark off a stick. Lovely. Who doesn't love stripping a bark off a stick? Oh, marvelous. Thank you, Shona. I enjoyed listening to your hypnotherapy last night. I'm glad it helps, and it helps everybody get to sleep. In fact, somebody put a little review saying Carl's book's brilliant. When I need to get to sleep, I read his book. So I'm not quite sure if that counts as a positive review or not. But there you go. There you go. So I might have to run off early, depending. I've got the vet coming to do the jabs, and Castizo's a particular handful, and I might have to run off to help the staff. Are you getting that tangled? Are you okay? Yeah? Yes? Yes? Is that okay? Is that okay? There we are. And I also might have to run off early because Popper Guy might stop chewing the stick and start destroying the broadcast, which is also highly possible. Hello, Sharon. How am I today? Very chilled. I don't know why. I just sort of refound my love of music this morning. And ow, that's my ear. Now what? You can't. Have you gone off chewing the stick? No, you still chewing the stick? If you're going to chew the stick, you've got to get on the chair back because I don't think I can host it. I'll save chewing the stick for later. Maybe we'll have a little clean. There we are. Morning, everybody. So I had a ever such an interesting weekend chatting to people. So I've got this program called the Mounted Division Ultimate Rider Confidence Course. It's a 3-month course dealing with all the objections that I've heard over the years as to why people aren't riding their horses. Lack of confidence, of course, self-image comes into that, self-assertiveness comes into that. And so we've got modules on each of these mental blockages, as well as the practical advice that I always give of bite sizes or chunking things down, as people sometimes call it, rider confidence, not listening to the other people who will be colouring your vision of how dangerous or safe horses are, all that usual stuff that I talk about on here. But I also deal with your self-image, self-assertiveness, objections with money. People quite often, you say, well, if you're feeling nervous about going, ow, don't bite my ear when I'm on the telly. If you're feeling nervous about going off to a competition, why don't you go to a competition and determine not to enter and see how you behave differently? And there we are. People are like, well, I haven't got the money to drive all that way and come back. So if you're going to object money, then I've got a section on money, and then there's a section on time as well, because people saying I haven't got the time to ride them every day. Well, when we say a section on time, it's really a section on prioritizing, because it means a lot to you to get out and ride your horse, and everybody else interferes. So that's also to do with valuing yourself and your own time. And it's all these units are backed up with hypnotherapy, and also I have regular Zoom calls with everybody to keep everybody on track. So I have the most interesting conversations, and I had a really interesting conversation. I've got a little story that I've told before that I'll remind you of it. So the purpose of this comment, let me just jump to the conversation that I had was, oh, I need to put the invite in. The conversation that I had was to do with there's always another way to look at the world. There's always another way to look at what people are saying to you or about you, or there's always another way to look at it. So I'll just give my examples. Let me just bob in the invite while I start. So copy that to the clipboard. Lovely. And I'll just pop that there to ask a question. To ask a question or offer advice, please click this link. There we are, and there's the link. There we are. So if anybody wants to pop on and join the social club, you're quite welcome to. It is a social club after all. So there's always a different way to look at the world. Now, what inspired this was a conversation, and I was just recalling a little previous conversation I'd had before that. Where are you going? There you go. You're going to tie me up. Oh, Telly, come on. Oh, don't poo in the fish's water. That's not fair at all. So at this conversation, I had this horse once, and it was a Spanish horse, and I don't know what they'd done to it, but it was not right. It had obviously been beaten or something. It was terribly frightened, and it just it gets tangled up. It was terribly frightened, and it just bolted everywhere. There we are. So it bolted around the arena. First time that we got on it, and we've done all the preliminary stuff correctly. We've done it all correctly, and as soon as the moment of actually riding it and asking it to go on came, it just ran. And it took me probably 6 weeks to get it down to walk around the arena and not run away from, and it was an intense 6 weeks as well. Intense as in intense on me. So I'll just do 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes. So 3 times a day, in and out, in and out. But anyway, there we are. So I got this horse down to a walk, and to be honest, I was quite pleased with myself when I got it down to a walk, because I'd taken this horse that was obviously scared, certainly of men, possibly men in hats, and we got down to a walk. It was beginning to trust me, and I was feeling pretty good. I was feeling like the horse whisperer. I can talk to horses, tell them there's nothing to worry about, and there we are. So I'd got it down to this walk, and I knew that we'd be walking for quite a long time before I got it to ask for anything more than a walk. So there was me feeling pretty good. All I could do was just walk this horse around, keep it calm. And this lady came to Rider Confidence, and she had the same situation. And she'd got this horse, and all she could do was walk it round because it was reactive or responsive, or however you'd like to describe it. And all she could do was walk it round. And she felt awful. She felt like no kind of horse rider at all, if all she could do was walk this horse around, and she couldn't get it to trot or canter because it was so frightened and so reactive. And that really got me, really got me. We've got the same experience. We're doing the same thing. We're both doing what's good for the horse. I'm feeling like the bee's knees, thinking that I'm the flipping horse whisperer, and she's feeling awful, and we're doing the same thing. Isn't that curious? Isn't that curious? And then this conversation happened yesterday, where somebody said they had a very up on its toes, very keen to get going horse that came out of the stables all snorting and ready to go and dancing around and jigging about. And it looked worse than it is. Once you got on it, it was actually very well trained, and the person knew that it was fine. But of course, it elicited a load of responses from the people watching. So that there was, oh, I wouldn't get on that, and all that sort of thing. But she secretly knew that this horse was fine, and what that horse needs is a bullet, or whatever people were saying. But anyway, once you got on it, it was fine. But this person I was speaking to in my Mounted Division Ultimate Rider Confidence course was saying that she still hears those voices. She still hears the voices of people saying, "Oh, I wouldn't trust that horse. I wouldn't get on that horse. You need something quieter. It's going to do you in." Basically, I can't remember the exact words. So there we go. So she couldn't, even though she knew that the horse was fine, she constantly remembered everything that everybody was saying, and it nagged at her confidence. That's that's quite amazing. Quite amazing. She knew the horse was fine. And I thought back to a similar situation that I was in. And this is just like the other story that I just told a minute ago. And there was working for a show team, there was a stallion called Miguel. And when we pulled up at the show, the stallion was kicking hell out the lorry. The lorry, the stallion was on first and off last. So all the horses got off. And by the time it got off, the lorry was rocking about and the horse was screaming and stamping. And Lumi was the same when he came here and we first went to shows. Screaming, stamping, coming off the lorry, flying out, missed the ramp altogether, came flying out, dragging the handler down with him, round and round and round. And so I've told this story before. So going round and round. But with Miguel and with Lumi, if you could get on them, then they're instantly very well trained. And of course, I got the same response of everybody saying, "Oh, I wouldn't get on that horse, and are you mental? And that horse is going to get you, and what that horse needs is a bullet, and all that sort of thing that people say." And the horses are all screaming abdabs and coming off looking wild. And the trick was with both of them just to get up, foot in the stirrup, up you get, and look cool, and give a little wink and go away. And yes, to be fair, I did use it in a vain way. Yeah, of course, you want to be the one getting on the screaming horse, and yeah, it was funny actually. And actually, to be honest, the way that you get on the horse and go riding off on this screaming abdab horse that everybody's getting upset about is a bit like setting up a magic trick. I know that as soon as you jump on the horse, it's absolutely obedient, and it's and in a way, it's like if you play it dramatically enough, then you can pull off a really good magic trick. And I call this whole little story and that the magic trick, because there we are. You lead people to think one thing, but actually something else is happening. Very good, very funny. Identical situation, identical comments. The only difference being I heard the comments playing into my hands to do this magic trick of looking cool and zooming off. And the rider I was speaking to this weekend was doing the exact same act, but not running it like a magic trick, getting the exact same comments and hearing them in a totally different way. A totally different way. So those comments, the same comments, went to boost my ego that I look like a horse whisperer. Shame on me. But and played into my hands. And the same comments could have been interpreted into, am I being sensible here? Is this horse actually safe? Have I just been lucky and got my confidence down? So there's two situations where who just so happens to make my life professionally as a rider and come into these situations reasonably often, took the exact same comments and situation that somebody who maybe doesn't ride professionally for a living, and I mean like for a living, I'm not saying in a professional manner, or a leisure rider, shall we say, and use the exact same situation to feel bad. First person felt bad that they'd just got this horse that could do nothing but walk. I had a horse that could do nothing but walk and felt absolutely bloody brilliant. The second situation was The horse is screaming round. People are making comments. Is that horse safe? Is that dangerous? I used it to boost my confirmation in I can read a horse. Well, actually, no, I wasn't even boosting my confirmation in that. I was just playing them out. I was just playing a trick on people. Just playing a trick. It wasn't even anything, and I was quite pleased. But I heard those comments, and I just thought I played this trick really well. And the more comments that you got, the more you played it well. Someone else doing exactly the same, exactly the same. Here's the comments, and is like, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't trust this one." So what I've come on to say, and I have really looked forward to this over the weekend. It's like I'm going to say this on Monday. So what I've come to say is there is always another way to look at the world. Whatever's happening with your horses, with the things that people say, with the experiences that you're having, there's always another way to look at the world in terms of your confidence, what you'd like to do. And it's just a matter of spending the time of finding that other way to look at the world. I hope that made sense. That made sense, Poppy. Have a quick look here. Nicola, hello, hello, hello. Oh, let's put your comment up. I like that. I like that. I have in the past had those comments. Oh, why did you buy that horse? She's too big. You won't be able to manage her, etc., etc. There's always another way to look at the world, especially if you know that she's fine. It's other people's insecurities coming out there. That's absolutely brilliant. Thank you for your contribution. And Shona's got, if you remember, you're riding for your own joy and not anyone else's. Brilliant. And as I said in my interview with Yenku last week, probably the third biggest issue, possibly the second, is other people's opinions. So I hope you found that interesting. I'm going to go. I think I just had a car pull up. Actually, I think that's going to be the vet coming to do the jabs. So thank you very much for staying here, listening to what I got to say on a Monday morning. I will see you tomorrow. If anybody would like to bring a question tomorrow or some advice, that would be absolutely super. See you later then, everybody. Thanks for listening. Come on, Pop. Let's go find